Alright, welcome to yet another fabulous Linux Zoo crew. And today on the Zoo, we are going to be covering some news and nonsense for this week of August 4th. Lots of interesting things have been happening here in the news. But before we begin today's show, I'd like to share with you a few words from our founder, Voltam.
Hi, I'm Voltam, founder of the Linux Distro community. The Linux Distro community is a place for people to hang out and discuss Linux distros, software, and open source. The Linux Distro community is a community funded by its members for its members. We are a friendly, welcoming community that encourages people who use Linux operating systems and software to share their passion and knowledge with other people. We believe that when people share information freely, everyone benefits. We'd love to see you become a part of the Linux Distro community. You can voice chat with us on Mumble or text chat with us in IRC. Head over to linuxdistrocommunity.com for details. Join in today in the sharing of knowledge and the freedom that a Linux operating system gives people. Thank you.
All right, and it's good to see that you made it back, Pingcasts. He's going to be co-hosting today. It's nice to see that you could break away from your Minecraft Anonymous meeting. So tell me, how are those 12 steps working out for you?
Okay, it's great, Spatry. Step 1, get on Minecraft. Step 2, through 11, play Minecraft. And then step 12 is go to bed.
I'm just happy to hear that you aced the finals in spite of your Minecraft addiction. That is always a wonderful thing. Why don't you introduce the panel to us tonight?
All right, on this panel we have C. Smith, Lectra, Oscailt, myself, Riley, Ronak, and our host Spatry.
Thank you. Welcome, one and all, and welcome to everybody who is also listening to us in the listening room, as well as everybody who is participating on IRC. We look forward to seeing all of your comments as this show transpires. Ronak's going to start us off with our first news article. Take it away.
All right. Well, I wanted to talk tonight about my love-hate relationship with HP. On the one hand, I've always liked HP because their printers have always worked in Linux, and they were always kind of like the go-to thing. Didn't have to worry about drivers since they were in the kernel. Very open source friendly. However, the one thing that's really getting my goat about them here tonight is WebOS. Now, WebOS is the fledgling mobile system that was developed by Palm. HP bought WebOS from Palm in an act of contrition, I guess, and then subsequently turned around and killed it. And as a way to kind of weather the storm of a word I can't say that was raining down on HP, they decided in some back room that they would make it all look good and they would open source it. So enter OpenWebOS, which all sounded good, and everybody was like, well, maybe they're starting to see the light. However, ZDNet just ran an article where they said that there are no HP devices out there currently that will run OpenWebOS. So basically, they were playing this shell game of continuously acting like they support open source and then turning around and stabbing everybody in the back. Now, their excuse is that the kernel that they're using to develop their touch devices going forward isn't compatible with WebOS. But as the article points out, that's total poppycock because Android has already been ported over to these devices and already using the newest kernel. So it's just kind of a BS excuse that HP is throwing out there. So in a nutshell, basically HP again is saying that they're open source friendly, but there are no WebOS devices out there today that can use WebOS in a system dictator at all for the open community.
They said about kernel not supporting it and stuff. 4 words: compile your own kernel. It's not very hard to do. You know, you have the option. It's open source. Compile it yourself. Hey presto, you have what you have to do. A big company like HP someone in there should have the brains to be able to do that. Surely.
Yeah, now I'm using a compact computer of all things, which of course is owned by HP, and the thing is, I like the level of support that I have for Linux on this device. I'm really not too sure about this news snippet that Ronak just covered. We'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. But the good news for all of you out there, The fact is, the matter is, Dell is now getting back into the Linux game, so those of you who want Linux-ready machines, you can definitely check out Dell, or even better, just go to System 76. They've got some wonderful machines that are available. Riley, what you got?
It's kind of a major story that's been all over the major news sites, but basically the cybersecurity bill didn't pass this week. Basically what they were trying to do is they were trying to slap on extra amendments to it, and they were trying to hide them. Basically what they were saying is, after the Colorado shooting, is where you couldn't buy certain types of ammunition over the internet. Also, I think magazine sizes you couldn't buy, this weird small stuff like that. And they were basically trying to hide that from the Republicans, so they just shot it down. But after looking into it further today, trying to push an executive order to it, so you might see a revised vision of it sometime soon.
All right, interesting. Now, all of you know that Android has been stirring up quite a bit of stuff in the news lately. It appears that they are trying to combat piracy with their Android 4. To where when you purchase these APK applications and games and that sort of thing, it'll be restricted to a single device. But did you know that Android malware is going to be made easy with a modular kit? Security researchers plan to release open source framework for building Android malware capable of recording calls, stealing data, and more. Android continues to prove irresistible to the hacker community, which seems intent on finding ever newer, more innovative ways to exploit security holes in the open source mobile platform. Now, a new threat to Android may be on the horizon. A pair of security researchers are planning to make public next month a modular open source framework called AFE, or Android Framework for Exploitation, that bad guys can use to build and tailor Android malware to suit their tastes. Personally, I see this as something that really should not be out there for the mobile platforms and that sort of thing. I don't know about that one. We'll definitely have to see how that one plays out. All right, Pingcasts, what you got?
Well, the Linux Mint Debian edition, their GNOME 2 frozen repository has been discontinued. So,
Oh,
yes, your precious GNOME 2. But there's still Cinnamon and Mate for those of you who want to continue to get that GNOME 2 feel. So you can use one of those and get that GNOME 2 feel back. What do you guys think about that? You miss GNOME 2 or do you like GNOME 3 Cinnamon? What do you like?
Well, I think Mate is a step in the right direction, but I still feel that it needs a little bit of work. Now, earlier today, I just had a look at CentOS, which has that actually is still using GNOME 2. 6.3 just released, and that's still using GNOME 2. And that's a great operating system to use if you want an enterprise-type Linux operating system. It's secure, it's stable, much like Debian is. Oscailt, do you have a comment on that?
All I'll say is Gentoo still has GNOME 2, and it shall remain that way for a very, very long time. So kudos to Gentoo.
Unless you calculate Linux. Just kidding.
Here at Gentoo we don't mind. You can use whatever, just as long as you use some sort of Gentoo, because we realize it's awesome.
You're not going to turn this into the Gentoo show, are you?
It just will take you 8+ hours to compile it, right?
I remember Total OS today saying something to the effect that horses do the same thing as Gentoo. Lots of compiling.
You know, fine, right? If I got my way, this would be the Gentoo show.
Well, there's always opportunities to start a new channel on here and do a talk show once a week. And you know what? I might even jump in on it, because eventually I do have to start my Gentoo series, or at least my experiment, and that sort of thing. C. Smith, you have something to add?
Yeah, I was gonna say that if those people want GNOME 2, there is a session that can be set up really similar to GNOME 2 that CairoDoc sets up. It's really nice. I'm using it myself.
Okay, yeah, there are other options there. Okay, Oscailt, what you got?
Well, I've got quite a big one for developers. Qt, which is a framework has recently lost some funding from Nokia. Now, reasons around this are to do with Nokia losing 1.2 billion in the last year, so effectively they don't have the money to hold it up. So it's not like Nokia are saying this project isn't worth a damn because Qt is most certainly worth a damn. If it wasn't for Qt, we wouldn't have Mumble, we wouldn't have an awful lot of cross-platform applications. And the thing about this is, it was actually Penguy who informed me about this, and this was last night. I almost cried because I love Qt so much. I know so many developers that use it, and the fact that it's lost one of its major backers is a hindrance. And at the moment, it's still a-okay, but development is going to slow down a lot, and that is bad because if it slows down, it's already slow as it is because it's one of those projects that there's not really that much they can do with it, so if it slows down a lot. And it is going to be quite interesting throughout the next few months and years.
Okay, now some of you will remember that Ubuntu dropped support for Kubuntu, and Armageddon also went on to mention that KDE and KDE apps are Qt based. Okay, now we know that Kubuntu got picked up by another company and they've got their funding and that sort of thing back. It stands to reason that even though Nokia has dropped some of the support for Qt, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody else picks this up, because obviously if we have all these innovations that are out there, KDE, Qt applications and that sort of thing, and it has really made a big footprint in the Linux community, it stands to reason that somebody is definitely going to pick this one up. Does anybody else have any thoughts on this before we move on?
I'd just like to continue on who would actually buy it up. And it's used by both Spotify and Google. So, there's two people right there that could probably buy it up. And as Penguy was also saying to me, it's more likely going to be Google that buy it up. So, at least there is a massive backer there that more than likely will because they use it. I think personally, if Google don't pick it up, they're complete idiots.
Well, I imagine somebody out there will pick this up. Okay, in other news, Samsung ranked as the top smartphone in the US for the 3-month average period ending in June, claiming 25.6% of mobile subscribers according to ComScore Mobile Lens service. LG followed with its 18.8% share. Apple ranked third in the OEM market, claiming 15.4% of mobile subscribers. Next came Motorola with 11.7% and HTC with 6.4%. ComScore's findings are in sync with those of Juniper Research, which recently heralded Samsung as the #1 provider in the world. Samsung shipped 52.1 million smartphones in Q2, it estimated. A little more than double the number shipped by Apple, an estimated 26 million. Samsung also doubled its lead over Apple quarter on quarter, Juniper said, with its flagship Galaxy S3 driving sales. Well, this is interesting news because we all know that right now Apple and Samsung are in the courts right now, and I have another news article I'm going to read on that later. But apparently, it appears to me that Apple sees that they're starting to lose in the market. So now the only thing that they have is their patents that they're going to be using to try and stop other companies from, putting out their products and that sort of thing, rather than just putting the money. Rather than just taking the money that they're throwing into this lawsuit and putting it into their research divisions to start innovating and making better products that people want. Anybody have any thoughts on this?
Spatry, what's still sad about that is I still don't have gingerbread on my Samsung Continuum. We're stuck in Froyo land. Oh well, back on talking.
Well, I'm still running Froyo on my device, and I absolutely love it. I don't want to upgrade to a later Android release. I'm pleased with the one I've got. What you got, C. Smith?
I'm just gonna say that there are companies who are making much better Android devices than Samsung currently.
The thing that gets me about Samsung is they got all this funding, but they can't support a phone that is more than a year old, it seems like. They just stopped supporting it.
A company I can reference is Acer. They have supported the tablet that I broke and are still supporting the thing. Since at least, last year. It's a Acer Iconia Tab A100.
Okay, well, this is all interesting, the thing is, I'm just pleased with what I'm running right now, and I really don't want to see any upgrades to it. I think this is really ugly what we're seeing in the mobile markets, and my only fear is that this may eventually move over to the desktop. Lectro, what you got?
Mine's kind of sticking with the Android sort of news. They've officially released it's only 0.1 version of an Android SDK installer for Debian and Ubuntu. So now people can use emulators and write programs for Android on Ubuntu and Debian using a script. And the thing that I'll be most excited about is when Ubuntu finally comes to Android. They've only tried it on an Atrix 2, running on version 2, Android 2.6, 2.3, 2.4. Yeah, it's running on a Android 2.3.5. Basically, it runs on top of Android, and when you dock it into your computer with a docking station, you're running a full-on Ubuntu distribution on your phone. So on your dash and all the rest of where you normally get your emails, and wherever you left off on your phone, like say on your browser or your apps, will basically mirror onto your screen, which I think is quite good.
Well, I like to comment on the fact that Ubuntu didn't develop this. I didn't get this news. I didn't find out this tidbit of information myself. It's all down to Penga, who I was talking to last night for a considerable amount of time. But he was talking about WebTop, and this is how it actually works. The reason why you only see it on the Atrix, I don't really deal with Android phones, so the phone that you mentioned, the reason why you only see it on that phone is because at the moment that's the only phone that its WebTop's developed by Motorola, and that's the only phone they can get WebTop working on at the moment. And that's the reason why you see Ubuntu on that phone and that phone alone. Ubuntu have done no development for it whatsoever. They're using someone else's software, and at the moment, at least in my eyes, they haven't given any credit to it. So, just saying.
C. Smith, what you got?
Yeah, I have a bit of gaming news, and give me a second, my browser is acting up. Okay, there we go, I just had to switch windows. Anyway, it's a article about how Blizzard literally says Windows 8 is not awesome. So, basically they were saying this in response to Gabe Newell and what he said, I don't know where he said it, was a catastrophe. Blizzard concurs.
Okay, well, the thing is here, Valve also mentioned this as well. The founder of Valve, he stepped up and he mentioned that he feels that the Windows 8 is going to be a catastrophe. All right, and we know that that Valve is already doing testing on the Linux platform. They've been able to get faster frames per second than they can on their Windows devices, and they're literally improving on their platform. This is going to be a godsend to a lot of Linux users out there who really want to do some gaming, and I just can't wait to see this platform coming to Linux. I can't wait to get Steam. My credit card is ready to rumble. As soon as Steam hits, I am definitely going to be downloading some games, and I'm going to be playing them on my machine. Go ahead, C. Smith.
Yes, as I was saying, Blizzard more than likely will not port their games, mainly because they run really well under Wine.
Boo.
I've never had success with some of their games under Wine, but I am an ATI user.
Yeah, the problem there is getting a complete noob, if you will, to install, download, and correctly install and correctly configure in Wine a game that they can just hit the exe icon on Windows. It's just not a good answer.
Yeah, but the thing is, Play on Linux has definitely made a step in the right direction. As a matter of fact, I spent a little bit of time on their website last night. There was some fear, uncertainty, and doubt that was being issued about some people having problems with Diablo 3 being kicked off the servers for using third-party software and that sort of thing. And in actuality, that is not true. You can use Play on Linux to get Diablo 3 working. And it also appears they might even have a deal with goodoldgames.com, because I'm noticing a lot of their games are working beautifully on Play on Linux. I've had good results every game that I've tried, and I've tried 3 of them. I've got The Witcher running, I've got Neverwinter Nights working, and And the thing is, the games are working beautifully, and they exceeded my expectations. I could not get these games working any other way. I used to use Wine and Vineyard for doing all of my games and stuff like that in Linux, and I was always having trouble getting those to work. And now it looks like Play on Linux has stepped up their game. They've got better installers, and at least that's something to tie us over until Valve has their product released. Riley.
Also, going back to the Valve thing, a lot of people, what they fail to realize is Valve gets a lot of their funding through Microsoft for supporting Windows with Steam. So with them coming out and saying that Windows 8 is going to be a catastrophe, that's a big deal. That's going to put them in the spotlight against Microsoft. So who knows what will happen with that.
Exactly, and the thing is, I have been showing Linux to a lot of friends, and a lot of people have adopted Linux as a result of my show. And they're seeing that, yes, this platform is a really good platform to be working off of, and also for entertainment, because Wine has matured. And I highly recommend that people contribute to Codeweavers so that they can so that Wine can continue to grow and thrive and allow people to have applications running natively on the Linux platform. This is a wonderful thing. I think this is great news, and I really think this is going to propel Linux in the right direction.
Here's a cool thing, Spatry, I'm looking at Facebook comments from the announcement about Left 4 Dead 2 running faster natively on Linux than on Windows. Here's a random comment from a non-Windows or non-Linux user. He said, I don't really know anything about Linux, but if it makes games run better on my machine, I will switch as soon as Steam opens up. Here's my wallet. So this is what we've been waiting for. This will bring a lot of people to Linux.
Now, there was also talk in the pre-show that Richard Stallman isn't really too pleased about this, but at the end of the day, it is up to the end user to decide what they want to have running on our systems. Obviously, we have non-free drivers that we are running on our systems. We have non-free codecs that are running on our systems that will allow us to view DVDs and that sort of thing. And this is just another option that is being introduced to people. And if people are willing to pay for it, then God bless them. They should be able to have these technologies running on their Linux system. It's free as in freedom, my freedom, your freedom. And Lectro wanted to say non-free as in open source. Share with me a little bit about that.
Yeah, as in, well, what I meant when you were saying it before you mentioned it is, when you were saying free, I didn't want people who were listening to think, when you said non-free, I didn't want people thinking that, oh, well, if we go to Linux, it's non-free as in it's closed source, not open source. But it didn't cost the end user anything. It's proprietary. That's what you was discussing. Exactly.
Riley, you're next.
My view on that is, as long as they're supporting Linux, more power to them. They can keep it closed source if that makes them happy. It's a free country.
But as I was saying a lot earlier, during pre-show chat and even last night, talking about this with Valve and a couple of people, if Valve wants to do it, let them do it. If anyone wants to do anything on Linux, let them do it. It doesn't benefit me, but it benefits some people.
It'll be nice, though. Games on Linux. That means Windows users can't throw that gamer card at Linux now. It's going to have games. So, what will Windows have left over Linux, other than now we have games too?
It'll be one thing. It'll be Microsoft's Exchange. That's it.
And
viruses, malware, Silverlight.
.NET framework, Shutter.
A very nice blue screen. It'll pop up at you on boot sometimes.
Disobedient system.
Okay. We got everybody jumping in now. All right. Now, earlier I mentioned about Samsung leading in the markets and everything. Well, yes, now this happened on Thursday. Samsung angered the judge Lucy Koh as they released material about rejected evidence to the press. Samsung was rejected the evidence, which it thinks is critical to this case, as the judge said was submitted too late to show to the jury. Samsung had requested the judge a couple times to include the evidence, but to no avail. Yesterday, when the evidence in question, Samsung phone F700, was displayed in an Apple slide, Samsung argued that Apple has opened the door to discussion of the F700 and asked the judge to reconsider, but the judge rejected and warned, don't make me sanction you. Now, I've got a picture of this slide that they're talking about, showing where we have the shape of the iPhone and we have the designs of the Samsung phones, and they don't really copy the iPhone at all. And so, this is just another one of these patent battles that it looks like it's just going to keep going on and on and on. And personally, I hope Samsung comes out the winner on this one, because Samsung does make a wonderful product. I mean, hey, Samsung's making the screens for the iPhones, of all things. Maybe they should jack up their prices or just stop doing business with Apple entirely, and force them to go out and get another vendor to make these devices for them. I mean, it seems like the system, we're just getting caught and tangled in the webs we weave with all these things, and hopefully we'll see an end to all these patent wars. Okay, now starting with C. Smith, and we're going to go through everybody on the panel. Do you have any final thoughts on today's show? C. Smith.
Actually, I do not have any final thoughts.
Goodbye, Electro. Goodbye, Oscailt.
Again, 4 words. Gentoo for the win.
Pingcasts.
8+ hours of compiling.
Riley.
The moral of this is don't run Windows.
Ronak.
If you've not tried Linux, why the heck not?
All right. Thank you, all of you, for yet another wonderful show. A lot of good discussion here. I say Steam is welcome in the Linux ecosphere. I can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun for everybody, and I appreciate everybody who's participated on IRC. Thank you, all of you. C. Smith, Electro, Oscailt, Pingcasts, Riley, Ronak. Thank you, all of you, for joining us on today's show. And we have a good idea that was submitted by Ronak. We should do a whole show on what open source and free and open source mean and why people should care. I think that's a wonderful idea, and I think that will be our topic for next week's show. So you'll definitely want to be back here, same time, same channel.
Today's show was brought to you by the Linux Distro Community. Visit us today at linuxdistrocommunity.com and chat with us on Mumble or in IRC on the Freenode network in the Linux Distro Community channel. The Linux Distro Community. Freedom through the sharing of knowledge.